Good morning, everybody. Today is the release of Update 62, Attack of the Night Revels for Dungeons & Dragons Online. So I wanted to go through the patch notes real quick to give you my review of what's happening and so you can be informed about what's going on. First, the Night Revels is back, so if you want to know more about the Night Revels, they have their guide on DDO.com, and it basically tells you all about what you need to know, how to play it. Long story short, there are special champions that will spawn in quests on normal and elite difficulty, and killing them will give you keys. When you get keys, you can run these dungeons, and the dungeons, each one will give you a different material, and you can trade the materials in for all sorts of stuff. Also, if you just go to the Delaris Graveyard, you can enter just like a challenge zone, which gives you keys even faster. So if you don't want to farm keys really fast and get all your stuff, go to the graveyard. If you just want to play the game and then maybe spend some keys, just play the game, maybe spend some keys. Outside of that, they also have some new rewards this year. They have a new red mount, they have a spectral pseudo-dragon, and a new outfit. For whatever reason, this stuff is 5 times the cost of the previous mounts and outfits, and I don't know why. I hope they're 5 times as good, but I have no confirmation. Also, they added the candies back. These are basically just like consumables. To my knowledge, they used to last an hour and give you a bonus. Now they last 20 seconds, so I don't know. Anyways, that stuff's not important. What really matters is the meat and potatoes of this patch, which is some of the rebalanced changes. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible to make sure people understand, because I think this page is not that complicated, but maybe some parts might be confusing. So, active attack rebalance. What all of these words say, just adding it all together, is that when you use an attack in Dungeons & Dragons Online, it'll give you a bonus W. So, for example, let's just say you decide to use, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the basic strike. The Eldritch Knight Siphoning Strike. It gives you plus 3 W when you use it, and then it also gives you some extra spell power when you use it. So what that W does, this thing right here, is it's a multiple of the base damage of your weapon. So if I'm using a longsword, right, it gives me, the W is like the damage of the weapon. A longsword's a D8, so my weapon attack, because it's plus 3 W, is 3 extra D8s. Okay, that's how it used to work. They have changed it, so now, whenever it said W, it's just giving you a percentage-based bonus. So at the beginning of the game, this will be slightly worse for several attacks, because plus 3W, I'm going to use that longsword as an example, would be an extra 3d8s of damage, or 3 to 24 damage, whereas a 30% increase is probably not going to be giving you on average about 12 extra damage per hit. However, that's at like level 1 with no items. Once you get just a couple items equipped and just some stats, easily by the time you're level 10, these attacks will be doing the same amount of damage, and by the time you're at the level cap, they will be dramatically more powerful, as these are multipliers on your attack. So, if you have past lives, if you have gear saved up, if you're somebody who does Caneth crafting, you set up gear sets, your gear sets will allow you to have a tremendous amount of extra damage in the early game. If you're a brand new player or somebody who's making a new character, it's a brand new character on Hardcore League, again, for like levels 1 to 5 to 10, somewhere in there, somewhere in the first 10 levels, you're probably going to be losing a little bit of damage on your active attacks. Remember, these are only the active attacks. These are not when you click the mouse to attack somebody. That's when you have a button you get from an enhancement tree or a feat, and you put it on your action bar, and then you cast it like it's a spell. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about things that you cast like they're spells, right? Like the Eldritch Strike, or Siphoning Strike, or Cleave, like a button you have to press. Those things will feel maybe possibly a little bit worse from 1 to 10, depending on your build, although, like I said, it's very easy to make it feel better very quickly. If you're a two-handed fighter or a single-weapon fighter, it'll actually just feel about the same at the beginning, and possibly even more powerful right away, because of how these scalars work. And at the end game, they're really crazy. Like, really, really crazy good. It's astounding. Traditionally, at the end game, you would get, an attack that would give you plus 5W. So, for example, I have a cleric right now that's at the end game that's using the War Priest, and the War Priest has an attack that adds 5W on it. It's called Divine Vessel, and with my character's endgame longsword build, my longsword is a raid weapon, so it's a D8 plus 3 damage, which on average is about 5.5 damage per 5W, so that's like 27.5 extra damage per strike, and now it's plus 50% damage instead. Now, why is plus 50% better? because my character's plus 180 damage on hit. So half of 180 is 90. And 90 is so much better than 28, it's not even comparable. It's like 4 times as powerful or whatever. So as a result, the higher level you are, the better these get because they're multipliers. So active attacks, good. The areas where this doesn't apply, because a lot of people ask questions. 1, your weapon is still going to have like a W on it. That's just a base weapon stats. As you get higher level, your weapons will get more multipliers on their own W. That's not changing. Also, buffs. There are things in the game that increase your W as a buff, like deadly weapons. That's not going to give you 10% more damage. It's going to increase the W because it's not an attack you press on the keyboard. Or the buff Crazy Strike from Barbarian. When you use Cracking Attack, Crazy Strike will give you +2 W. That is a buff and not an attack. Crazy Strike is the buff. The attack is Cracking Attack. So you press Cracking Attack, it gets this multiplier and does more damage. And then Crazy Strike is the buff that gives you +2 W on all of your attacks. So it's not gone, they're just making it so that attacks you press on the keyboard are more valuable. And in pretty much all cases, they are gaining a humongous amount of value. I cannot stress enough how good this is. This means all of those attacks that you see in the tree that maybe you don't take it because you're not sure about how good or bad it is, now they're pretty much all good all the time. If you decide to take one, it just gives you an extra attack that does even more damage. This is also not including the fact that these things scale as well with stuff like Adrenaline or Hunters, or what was it called, Hunt's End, both as Epic Destiny abilities, and they multiply each other. So let's just say you're a Barbarian and you take the attack Slaughter, which used to give you 10W. Now it's just double damage, which is way more than 10 base weapon damage. Because as a Barbarian, you get like such a high bonus damage from your strength. This factors in all of that, and the W didn't. So now it's double damage. But wait, Slaughter double damage multiplies with Adrenaline. So Adrenaline, which adds, I think it's 240% damage to your attack, you would think it would be 340%. They multiply. So you're actually getting like 480% damage. It's crazy. It's really good. Are they going to nerf it? I don't know. But overall, very, very, very good. Active attack rebound is going to make all those attacks just slightly better. I hope that was clear. Basically, if you don't know what's going on, active attacks are getting better. Don't feel bad about taking active attacks. Don't feel bad about pressing active attacks that give you bonus W. Stuff like regular trip and regular sunder and regular stunning blow don't have bonuses. So, press those when you need to. And then second is weapons scaling. Long story short, this is going to make it so that any weapons that are level 11 and higher are going to get more base W, that damage. That just means that weapons that are higher level are going to do more damage than weapons that are lower level. The biggest effects you're going to see from this is in the Barovian weapons. A lot of the Barovian weapons were level 10, or they're all level 10, and they used to give you 1.5 W. They're now going to be going down to 1 W. This means that the Barovian weapons will be losing anywhere from 1 damage on a dagger up to 3.5 damage per hit on a greatsword. These numbers are very low and not really that big of a deal. So, yeah, they're taking the damage away. But now, all of these weapons, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, all these weapons you might never have even considered are now dramatically better, and it's more consistent. If you're somebody who doesn't understand how weapons work, now you know. Higher level weapons do more damage than lower level weapons. It's really easy to understand. So there's your first winner right there. And your first loser, is the Barovian weapons. It's very minor. I'm still going to use Barovian weapons. You're still going to use Barovian weapons. They're still super powerful and super strong. Losing 1 damage on your dagger doesn't matter when you add 9d6s of extra damage from fire, holy, undead bane. Like, it's still a good weapon. But the second, I want to say loser, is the Fell Blade, which is a 26 level weapon. So it used to be 5W, now it's going to be 4.2. Which means that the Fell Blade is losing a total of about 3 damage. So it's still perfectly good for the end game and a very powerful weapon, but it is going to lose 3 points of damage. Oh no, my level 30 weapon losing 3 points of damage. Like I said, it means that there are some weapons that are going to be a little bit worse than they were before. Some weapons are a little bit better than they were before. But at the end of the day, most of the changes are pretty minor, and the benefit is that if you don't get weapons, higher level weapons are going to give you more damage. That's what you need to know. Then we have Monk. These are basically just buffs. They're just making it so that Monk combos and stuff deal more damage, which is fine. Stormsinger. This used to be a effect where the metamagic enhancement costs, where you could like change the cost of your metamagics. It used to cost 1 point each, and you could take maximize twice. They changed it. So instead of 6 action points for minus 18 cost to maximize, which was insane, it's now not that. So you have to take maximize and like quicken or something, and it costs like 6 points each enhancement, so it's a total of 12 points. I knew they were going to fix this. It took them a year, but there you go. Spell power scaling. So this is the, I don't know what it's called across the board, but basically they made it so that all the imbues that have been adjusted and changed in the past are now going to all the spell power imbues are now a D8, and the scale with 75% spell power. Here's the math on this. If you had a imbue that did a D6 damage, when you have less than 800 spell power, this is a buff. If you had an imbue that did a D6 damage, and you have more than 800 spell power, this is a nerf. And if you had an imbue that's a D8, this is a nerf. So, Eldritch Knight, Arcane Archer, War Chanter, all this other stuff. This also includes not only the Blightcaster imbues, also the Druid Elemental Form imbues are not included on here, but they were included in the patch. They all get adjusted. This is a slight damage down. I saw some people making absurd claims saying like imbues are bad. Imbues are not bad. They are very powerful, and they do a tremendous amount of damage. The areas where the spell power based imbues fall off in damage is in Reaper 8, 9, and 10, where they have the extra 33% damage decrease that hit regular spell damage in Reapers 8, 9, and 10. And so you do have to deal with that on top of it. However, if you're somebody who plays anywhere from Elite to Reaper 7, or if you were playing in like Reaper raids, like low Reaper raids or Elite hard raids, imbues were doing a good amount of damage. Were they overpowered? I don't think so, but they were very, very strong, and so it's not really a surprise to see them get adjusted or changed. Now, to be fair, I don't know why they didn't just make them all a D6 instead of making this weird spell power scaling, because it's more confusing, but whatever, it is what it is. Arcane Archer. All they did to Arcane Archer is made it better. So Arcane Archer is now 11 points cheaper. So all the stuff that used to cost 2 now cost 1, which is great. And stuff, or it used to cost it was 3 action points, now it's like 2 points or whatever. Anyway, they just reduced the cost of a bunch of stuff. They made it so the Arcane Archer cores, which gave you +1 to hit and damage, didn't do anything. They now just give you +1 to hit and damage. So you get, if you're a pure Arcane Archer, you get an extra +6 to hit and damage, which is pretty substantial actually. And then finally, they have the only crit-based imbue in the game, where if you take the tier 5, you now on critical hits deal a D10 instead of your normal D8. Dealing additional damage. So that's kind of cool. So you get a whole bunch of extra damage. Is Arcane Archer good? No, but it's better than it was before. Kensai got buffed. Tactics is now 1 point, and the damage in the tree is only 1 point, which means the tree costs 8 less points. Why did they buff Kensai, one of the best trees in the game? I don't know, but it's really cool, and Kensai is very good. By the way, I have a Kensai build coming out very soon. Dwarf got buffed, so that's nice. PDK got buffed, that's nice. And then there are these Alchemist changes. I'm going to do my best to kind of explain the Alchemist changes real quick. To TLDR, if you don't want to read all this, they made it so that each tree used to be based off one of the Alchemist stances. So Alchemist is based off of Orchidium, Apothecary is based off of Verdite or whatever, and Bombardier was based off of the orange. I can't remember what it's called, but the orange stance, Pyrite. So as a result, it meant that if you're in the tree to get all the bonuses, you had to have that stance. Now you don't. So if you're a Bombardier, you don't have to be in Pyrite all the time to get the bonuses from the tree. So it's like now it doesn't require Pyrite and stuff like that. You just have it, which is a better thing in my opinion. It means you can be more flexible with how you want to do stuff. That being said, you're still going to be in Pyrite if you're a Bombardier. You're still going to be Verdite if you're an Apothecary, and you're still going to be in Orchidium if you're a Alchemist. But now it's just less punishing. Additionally, they took Simple Throne Weapon Mastery and put it into the tree instead of being the 4th core, which means it doesn't require 12 levels of Alchemist now, which is very cool. So you can see some more hybrid intelligence-based throwers with Alchemist, which will be interesting. And then other than that, there's just some slight buffs. So like slight buffs to Alchemist, slight buffs to Apothecary, and slight buffs to Bombardier. Overall, these are very, very, very minor. No major changes here, but it's just a lot cleaner. Good quality of life stuff that I think the game has needed. And then finally, Divine Vessel and Warpriest Warsoul now deals plus 30% damage. I don't know. I should have logged in game. I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf. If it's a nerf, it's not needed. If it's a buff, it's also kind of not needed. So, I don't know. We'll check it out. This might be a nerf, which would suck because I have a War Priest build. Anyway, quests, Fires of Moorgrave. So they fixed the thing. Amber Temple. Oh yeah, the Amber Temple change. So Amber Temple is now a straightforward quest. Back in the day, you used to have to know all these different patterns and paths and need to know what to do and where to go and what how. Where the passwords would be random and you needed all this other stuff. They changed it. So now, Amber Temple is very linear. If you want to get through Amber Temple and you have no idea where to go, there are fixed locations to where you find all of the passwords. So once you do Amber Temple once, and you learn all the locations of all of the passwords, that's it. You're done. Now, if you're somebody who like to do this quest very fast, the randomly generating passwords are still in the quest. So you can still go and check the randomly generated passwords and find them quickly and then burn your way through the adventure. But yeah, you didn't have that option before. So now, like I said, if you don't know how to do this quest, it's now very linear. It's very linear. You can just go and find all the passwords and you're all set. So you should have an easier time with this one. Additionally, the quest completes upon finding the Amber Temple slab of Zudun, as well as finding the icon of Ravenloft. And also, Madame Eva is at the beginning, like she was when the quest first released. So you get the location right away. Overall, also they made fewer flame skulls per square mile. I have a feeling this has to do with SSG wanting to reduce the red alerting in quests, which they mentioned before. They want to make it so that quests that are self-red alerting are doing that less often. Amber Temple is a quest that would red alert itself, and so by fixing this, that makes it a little bit faster and easier. In my opinion, about this one, like I said, if you don't know how to do it, it's going to be easier now, so you're going to be able to figure it out because it's now linear. If you do know how to do it quickly, there's less RNG, which means you can do it in about the same amount of time every time. So what you give up on, you don't get those like 2.5 minute completions anymore, but you also don't have to get stuck into a 7-minute completion either because you get some door that needs a Therna because you can just go get a Therna because it always spawns in the same place. So it's not as bad. Also, these raids now drop +8 tomes, which is exciting. Probably should have done that already, but it is what it is. They also change it so attacks now display all the information about them, which is really cool. They just auto-display, so it's kind of neat. And then bug fixes. A lot of this stuff doesn't really matter that much. The big bug fix here is Drifting Lotus. They snuck this one in here, which was more of a nerf than a bug fix. Drifting Lotus was an attack that used to hit 3 times. So you press Drifting Lotus, and you would go 1, 2, 3 and hit people 3 times. This is an epic Destiny ability, and it was one of the best melee epic strikes in the game because of this. It hit 3 times, it had a stun, it had +3 critical threat range and multiplier, and added a bunch of force damage. However, it did that with every weapon style in the game except hand wraps. So SSG has now changed it. So it just uses the whirlwind attack animation on your character whenever you use Drifting Lotus, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. So now instead of triple hitting, you double hit with it, so it is in fact a nerf. And depending on your combat style, it may be now slower as well, because whirlwind attack can be slower. So Drifting Lotus basically got nerfed. Is Drifting Lotus still good? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a double hit attack, +3 critical threat range and multi, in an AoE that stuns twice. That gives you 2 chances for monsters to fail their save against stun. So yeah, it's still good. It's just not, like, the best epic strike in the entire game, outside of Adrenaline. So now you actually have to think, okay, do I want to use Drifting Lotus? Do I want to use the Fatesinger Strike? Do I want to use Dire Charge? Now you think about these things a little bit more, whereas with the old Drifting Lotus, you did not. It was just you use Drifting Lotus, or you find a way to be wearing cloth so you can use Drifting Lotus. It's one of the many reasons why you'd see a lot of builds running Vistani Knife Fighter, and a lot of builds running cloth, even though they're playing fighters or they're playing other classes, because Drifting Lotus was so good, you made that many sacrifices to use it. Now, it's probably going to go back into the territory of a Monk and Alchemist thing. Anyways, there's your patch note, update 62. I'll be doing a guide on everything that's good out of Night Revels, so if you don't know what to buy, you'll get that soon. But that's all I have for you today. So thank you for watching, have a good day, eat your vegetables, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.